time over here now.
Oh, hot damn. It is Fox Across America with Jimmy Failla. I owe our next guest a steak. And I'm honored to owe this next guest a steak, which is saying something, because a lot of men have given her a T-bone over the years. But enough about Fleet Week.
Enough about Oktoberfest.
The host of Kennedy Saves the World.
Bratwurst isn't going to consume itself, Jim.
Kennedy's in studio. The crowd goes wild. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Jim. Thanks.
So everybody needs to know this, because you people listening around the country, is about 200 plus radio stations. You have the highest security clearance there is in all of media. We tell you everything. So everyone knows it's not a state secret that Kennedy got engaged. Yay. But we got together to celebrate Kennedy's engagement and wound up at a place where her boyfriend, where our sexy teenage boyfriend,
that's right,
is a member. At a private club, through no fault of our own. We just wound up there because there was an issue with the other venue. And her fiance had to foot the bill for the whole thing. So I was like, I owe you a steak. This isn't right. So we're going.
You owe him a steak.
I owe him a steak. Yeah. You get nothing. You wait in a car. But we're going to go out. The Faillas, the Kennedys, we're going to go out for a steak this weekend.
It's going to be a big night.
We can't name names.
Hide the kids.
But the people know we're coming. I do know that, because when I called to make a reservation, my name showed up on caller ID, and he was like, hey, Jimmy Failla, Jimmy Failla on the Fax, Fox 5. Yeah. We love you.
It's that A. It really, I mean, it's funny because they either call you Failla, or Fallia, or Fallon.
Yeah.
Like I've told people, like, yeah, I'm going to be on Jimmy Failla's show. They're like, oh my God, the Tonight Show? That's a big deal. I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah.
It was. And I like Jimmy Fallon a lot. I
do too.
I don't think it's good for America that we beat the Tonight Show in the ratings. That's not good. They're winning online, though. They're killing it online. And I root for them.
I do too. Of all the late night shows, he's the funnest because I don't know if he still drinks.
Yeah.
I drank with him in the early aughts, and it was like one of the funnest nights of my life.
Yeah, because he drinks.
He went for it.
Good, he almost cut his hand off. That's really hard to do.
It's like, hey, Jimmy, that's not a good parlor trick, friend. Like, self-amputation, that's no.
The last time I saw him on the street, I'm not making this up, I think it's by Del Frisco's, it's like Ocean Pro, one of those over there. Mm-hmm. He was walking out of a high-end place, and he absolutely positively, you could have introduced him to himself, and he would have been excited to meet the guy. He had no idea. Like, hey, I want you to meet my buddy Jimmy Fallon, and they showed him a mirror. He would have been like, oh, it's really nice. He would have no idea.
Wow.
He was in great shape.
I met Nate Bargatze.
Stop it. He's a great dude.
He was so nice.
Come on, man.
He started the Gentlemen Start Your Engines
at the Daytona.
Daytona 500. We were there this weekend.
That is
and he was walking by, and I'm like, Nate.
Oh.
And he gave me a hug. He was so nice. I'm so excited to meet him.
He's a great dude.
Because I love his stand-up. I love what he does. He's so good. He has carved out such a wonderful lane. And we went and saw him live like a year and a half ago, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Me and Nate, Kennedy's in studio if you're just joining us. The first gig I did with him, we were doing like an open mic at the South Street Seaport. And they were like guys that might have been pirates calling us gay slurs for like 9 minutes. It was amazing. I was driving like an 03 Nissan Murano. I'll just never forget it because for some reason the seats were knocked down and those guys were sitting in the back. Do you remember when station wagons had collapsible seats and the kids would just slide around in the back like
I was one of those kids.
Yeah, you are, right? Me too.
Yes, because the back, you could either like have the third row of like just horribly unsafe seats.
Yeah.
So if you get rear-ended, like you will no longer have legs. Or for my parents just like laid it flat, and I just sat in the back like drawing, like playing with knives.
Disney on Ice. They're doing a remake of that with Tom Homan. It's totally different. Everybody's just running out of the arena.
Princess Jasmine, we need you to come to the front desk.
You've got to go.
Bring all your stuff.
But that's honestly the first time I work with him. He's just an absolute phenomenal dude. Everybody who opens for him are good comics around the city. He's great. So I'm glad you got to meet him. That's pretty rad. And we were talking, Kennedy's in studio, about all the things going on in the world. That's what we were talking about. We talked about Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon was a super supporter of Nate. He used to put him on a show all the time. And
awesome.
Conan did too. And Jimmy Fallon, as you know, sent me a nice case of ice cream.
Yes.
And then
he was like, welcome to the late night club.
Yeah. And then Wardrobe took it. Like, you got to go. But the reason he's worth rooting for...
They replaced it with Greek yogurt and raw chicken. And they're like, just eat this.
I'm like, wait, Jimmy Fallon has his own line of Chobani yogurt? I didn't know that. I'm kidding. But he was a guy rooting for comics. And I only brought him up because really quickly, the thing Colbert pulled last night...
Where he threw his
and
long-suffering bosses under the bus.
And he faked being banned by the FCC. That didn't happen. So CBS said, this could potentially trigger an equal time law. So you'd have to give Jasmine Crockett some time. So they basically went in the room and huddled and like, I don't know, do we rebook Crockett or do we pretend that we're like under some fascist regime and we can't put it on the air?
Yeah, I mean, just like, what a BS artist. He's trying to be Kimmel.
Yeah.
Because that orange is dry. Like, there is no juice left to squeeze. Like, there's no more sympathy. He's done. He's boring. It's not entertainment. No one has any sympathy for Kimmel anymore. Like, that news cycle has passed. So Stephen Colbert is just trying to, like, church it up a little bit and make it seem like he's still public enemy number one.
Yes.
And he's the most dangerous comic in late night. It's like, no, it's literally like Susan from Legal sent an email to your senior producer, was like, okay, well, it's fine, but here's some guidance, just in case if we hear anything, you have to book her at some point, maybe in the future. Like, I guarantee that was the extent of it. And like, we're being banned in the USA. We're the new 2 Live crew.
With a lot less twerking. You get that vaccine dance they did instead. And CBS issued a statement, and even 5 hours after they issued their statement, I watched 2 minutes of Lawrence O'Donnell get on the air last night and be like, this is Germany, 1940, that whole thing.
Stop the hammering!
Well, I bring all of this up as a means of saying you come from a generation of real entertainers. That's what I grew up worshiping just the same. And Kurt Cobain is top of mind today because there was a report on the Daily Mail of all places.
Yes.
I mean, listen, they let anybody write for that site, so I'm not going to hold it.
The truth.
I'm not going to hold it too much. I kid. You can always read Kennedy at the Daily Mail. But, someone who took an independent look at the Kurt Cobain suicide coroner report decided this is a murder. I don't know. It doesn't seem to mean anything legally. This is one person's opinion. But it reminds me of when you interviewed Dr. Bodden after the Epstein thing. It was a dissenting doctor who said we might not have a full story here. Yeah. I know you've written about this. Have you seen anything that changes your take on history here?
No, and obviously, like, where we were in law enforcement and crime scene investigation, very different in 1994 than it is today.
Yeah.
And, if they had different tools, like, maybe they would have come to a slightly different assessment. He sadly was depressed.
Yeah.
He sadly was suicidal. He had OD'd a number of times himself.
Yeah.
He tried to kill himself in Rome. And, I was there at MTV the moment we found out he died. Like, I saw all of music crater in the most unsurprising way possible because they knew this was coming.
Yeah.
And Michael Azerrad, who is a great music writer, he wrote the book, the biography on Nirvana, Come As You Are, with the band's help. He interviewed them throughout the process, and he said the first time he met Kurt Cobain, the thing that struck him most was, he was haunted by the color of his eyes, but he also, looking at him and getting to know him, he knew that he was going to die young.
That is heavy,
and he said it was so tragic, but, and he racked his brain, as everyone did in Kurt's inner circle, like, what more could we have done? And so when people say, like, he fled rehab, and he was at Daniel Freeman and Marina Del Rey, and he was just so hell-bent on taking himself out of this world that if, and I said this on my podcast, so if, 3 assassins had shown up and held him down, and they're like, we have 3 syringes full of heroin and a gun. Do you think he really would have been like, oh, no, please?
Yeah,
no, he would have been like, oh, that's all I've ever wanted, is to shoot heroin and shoot myself. And it's so sad.
Yeah.
And everyone wants him to be this perfect thing.
Yeah.
Everyone wants him to be this angel on earth who never would have done anything to hurt anyone else. And I don't even think he thought he was hurting himself by committing suicide.
He wasn't even in that headspace. We're talking to Kennedy. I think what happens is when you get someone who's so transformational like this, there's always going to be currency in reviving a story.
Yes, but it's also a generational thing to be like, oh, we're the first generation who discovered waking up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, and we're doing early retirement. And it's like, no, that's what everyone's always done. You just came up with a different name for it. Yeah, and so you discovered the Kurt Cobain file for the first time, and you're like, oh, well, something is afoot here. And it's like, because you want to be the people who invented the idea that Kurt Cobain was murdered.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was talking to someone the other day from Seattle, like, oh, yeah, he was totally murdered. I'm like, no, he wasn't. It's so sad. Like, he was always sad. Like, if there's one thing you can learn about him if you really go and study his psyche, like, he was a sad kid who grew into a sad adult who produced incredible art.
Think about that. We're talking to Kennedy about the late, great Kurt Cobain, and he wasn't a sports guy. So imagine how much sadder he would have been if he was a Mariners fan. You know, I mean, you try to do the math on something like that.
You look at the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl.
That, fine, but that wasn't until but a few years ago.
He would have been like, Sam Darnold.
I can't with this ginger. It's tough, man. But I actually do think that's what happens. And you make this really brilliant, insightful point about people trying to repurpose existing things. Because I was reading this story yesterday, like, well, you know, with the rise of AI dating, there's this new cafe where people bring their laptops. I'm like, oh, that's called Starbucks.
Yes.
It's been around for 100 years.
And creepy dudes look at porn in public places and get off on it.
I know.
They do it in libraries. They do it at Starbucks. They do it at work if they can get away with it.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. If they can get away with it, Mikey. Sorry. Not a lot
Why are you closing your laptop,
Not a lot
Mikey?
of eye contact coming from behind the glass right now. I've never heard something slam shut that quickly in my life. Holy hell. Somebody figured out there's mirrors back there. But yeah, that's ultimately what it was. And when I see a story like this revived, it always bothers me because I'm trying to straddle this. You know, is any of this relevant and worth examining, and how much of this is just sensationalist exploitation? And sadly, it's usually 99% of the time it's that. You know, that's why you get a new Marilyn Monroe book every half hour. That's how big of a deal she was.
Yes.
So that every half hour is like, well, here's the one thing you didn't know, you know. And I don't doubt there could be a story there. You know, we were talking about it on Fox News Saturday night this past weekend. I did not completely know that it was true that she hooked up with both Kennedys. I didn't know that.
She was airtight.
How about she was getting it done?
That's what they call it.
And, you know, oddly enough, there was almost a third, but she refused to ride home from Ted for some reason. She's like, no, I'm good. I'll walk. I don't want to get in the car with this guy.
Dad, I'm not a strong swimmer.
She almost won the Triple Crown. And she was like, nah, no thanks, Ted. I'll call an Uber, something like that. But it's fascinating. And it kind of brings me full circle to where we are right now. So there's this thing going on right now, which it drives me so crazy in politics. Everything is about everything but the thing. We talked about this with voter ID, because I'll put this into English. The voter ID debate is not about whether or not people have ID, because they all do.
Yes.
So it becomes, well, if a woman gets married, well, if a black person wants to vote.
A woman will never be able to vote again. That's what Republicans are doing. That's how horrible they are. They are launching the war on women. Now let's put all these guys on the women's softball team and call it a day.
Enough. We're here to protect women. That's why we're sending this bearded man into your ladies' room. We're on your side. God, time was.
Spike that ball right in her face, Ernest.
Where are my girl dads at? Don't you want a sex offender in the women's room? I mean, what's wrong here?
You bigots.
And it's almost like, listen, man, we're tolerant people, but there's almost this other thing that we're doing now, because they're trying to weaponize intolerance, but it's not real intolerance. That's what I'm trying to say. And I laughed at the Olympian. So the girl's name is Amber Glenn. She came in 13th in figure skating. I'm never happy to see the American athlete lose, even if she's made in America. I like America. It's a great place. But she was the one who gave the press conference last week where she's like, it's a really hard time to be queer in America right now. I'm like, can you imagine going
Why don't you focus less on that and focus on figure skating?
You land that double Lutz.
They lock Chinese kids in a freezer from the time they're 5 and they say, go skate. You Americans are too soft.
Thank you. And apparently, if you think it's hard to be gay in America, it's harder in Italy, because you came in 13th.
Yeah.
You came in first in America. That's how you made the friggin' team. But it's like there's this lack of self-awareness, and it drives me crazy, because there is a world out there where being gay is a crime, okay?
Absolutely.
And punishable by death.
In Palestine.
Thank you. where the thing they support. But anyway, can you imagine getting up to an international press conference and saying as a citizen of a country that devotes a month to celebrating your sexual preferences, oh, it's hard here.
Yeah.
To the people getting killed.
Yeah.
And that's,
it's like, what are they doing in Iran?
Yeah.
They're going into hospital rooms where protesters have been injured and they're shooting them in the head.
Good God.
Yeah. It's like, your freedoms here, you don't have any perspective.
None.
You have no life experience. You are an entitled whiner, and people are sick of you.
Thank you. She's saying parents need to bring back corporal punishment. She's trying not to. I mean,
I always thought it was such a big deal that I never spanked or slapped or hit my kids. And now I look at them like, you were so lucky.
I always say in my act, I'm like, you ever get so mad at your kid, you wonder if you could survive in prison. You just try to figure out how it would go. This is the life we lead. Kennedy saves the world on our podcast every damn day, and I owe her a steak for doing so. You owe her a subscription, and I think we're all clear.
I'm gonna be grandpa drunk on Saturday.
Yeah, you are.
That steak and bourbon.
Not too drunk. I got to host my show afterwards.
That's true.
The Great Kennedy. Back after this.
The show that's got listeners on lockdown.
People that are from prisons. People that are from mental institutions, insane asylums.
This is Fox Across America with Jimmy Failla.
You are the best thing on the radio.